Now to the latest on the 12-year-old Virginia girl who was with us on Wednesday who can't stop sneezing. It all started more than 2 weeks ago when Lauren caught a head cold, and then the sneezing only stops when she goes to sleep. Well, we asked for your suggestions, and the response was overwhelming. And now the search for a cure is taking a new direction. NBC's chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Seidemann, is back with us about this morning. Dr. Nancy, good morning once again. Before we talk about this new direction, let's talk about this response.
Right.
Thousands of emails from all over the world. There was a response.
Right.
Describe it.
Well, a lot of people said, I've seen things like this before. A lot of people had anecdotal experiences, suggestions, everything from Vaseline up your nose to jump rope to chiropractic. But we really wanted to make sure that because we really walked to the edge yesterday talking about this little girl in front of this little girl.
About psychological issues.
Exactly.
Which was kind of
and I had spoken with her mother a little bit before we came off the air. But nonetheless, you have to be very careful when you're talking about a 12-year-old that you don't talk about her and say things that are insensitive. And remember, we don't have a diagnosis. So to treat without a diagnosis is quite imprudent. So after yesterday and getting lots of responses, we then started to hook her up with a few people who we thought might have some real answers
Which is terrific news. So let's get to that in a second. And let's talk about some of these email suggestions. Alex from Spokane, Washington wrote, send her to a chiropractor for adjustment. A lot of people actually had this suggestion. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't love it. And here's why. We don't know what we're adjusting for. I'm not convinced today, wasn't convinced yesterday that this is a sneeze at all. I think it's more tick-like. So to adjust somebody without knowing what we're working on doesn't make any sense to me.
So Glenn, who wrote in, I know the cure, massive quantities of vitamin A just below the toxic level.
Yeah.
No?
No.
No.
No reason.
Okay. All right. And also this one, you talked about jumping rope. There is a woman named Sue from Illinois who said, my daughter sneezed for almost a month. In desperation, we had her jump rope. She jumped for about half an hour and magically she stopped.
Now this is a very interesting thing because when children jump rope or jump on the trampoline or play the piano, there is a rhythmic nature to that. And if this is in fact a tic, that rhythmic repetitive motion can sometimes make children stop. It can be a clue to the doctor as, all right, perhaps there is an anxiety aspect to this. And when you find that rhythm and it calms you, this tic or, this impulsion that she can't control might go away.
Okay. We also got a lot of emails about something called pandas.
Yes.
Which are related to a strep infection.
So Dr. Nicolaitis was on our program before talking about pandas. The question whether you can get exposed to streptococcus, it hurts your immune system, and then you get obsessive compulsive disorder or tics like this. She's one of the physicians we reached out to yesterday. Interestingly, Lauren has not had a formal streptococcal throat swab, so it's one of the first things we're going to have her do, and we're also going to have her get strep antibodies to rule out pandas. It's not a syndrome that's very well known, but it is one of the avenues we're exploring.
Now here's the good news.
Right.
Since yesterday's broadcast, because of the overwhelming emails, and also because you said it was on the front page of the Daily Mail, in London and all over the world, there has been a kind of a feeling by the mom and by Lauren that they're being shored up a bit. So now they're going to undergo a bunch of, for example, there's an
shored up a bit,
an MRI that's being planned.
Yeah, so let me dial back for a second. Shored up and very transparent. And yesterday we spent a lot of time with them. Daddy is uber smart, has some tics. Mom says she has obsessive compulsive disorder. So does sister. So you start to look at the genetics of this. So the other step was to connect with the Yale Child Study Center and Dr. Jim Lechman. He spent a lot of time on the phone with them yesterday going over the social history, the genetic history. And so we have hooked her up at Yale, and we've hooked her up with Dr. Nicolaitis, and they are together putting together a treatment plan for her. The most important thing, get the right diagnosis, get the right tests, which may include a CT scan, an MRI, a throat culture, various immunologic tests, and then we can figure out how to treat her. We're going to continue to follow her and report back.
You're saying basically two things. One is that these kinds of behaviors can be inherited.
Yes.
And you're also saying that this is treatable and fixable?
Yes. So we don't know if this could be a strep-induced OCD and tic. Could she have Tourette's, which manifests itself in tics like this? Could this perhaps not be the first time she's had some repetitive behavior, but it's been the most noticeable? So in the hands of a good physician and neuropsychiatrist, in the hands of people who see these oddities, and know what these look like, and they're not just anecdotes, they are interesting manifestations of other disease, that's why you have to go to a center of excellence. And there are people in this country who do this very well. We are not diagnosing, we are facilitating.
But you're saying that you think that based on what you've learned and what you know, that this is possible, that she can
I have
really,
very high hopes for her. And I think she's going to be on medication, and I think she's going to get some help. But I have very, very, very high hopes.
Wonderful news.
Yeah.
Dr. Nancy Seidemann, thank you so much for
You're
helping
welcome,
her.
Annie.
And
No,
thanks for
this is a very brave family.
Yes, they
very
are very brave
young girl.
I think
Lauren's
she
a pretty
is.
cool kid.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nancy.
You bet.